We're back. We're talking Premier League today. Come on, Manchester United. Come on, Red Devils. We got Carl Anka from The Athletic to break down the Red Devils from all angles. The strikers, Benjamin Sesko, Mateus Cunha, Brian Mbuemo. The midfield, what are they going to do next to Bruno Fernandes? The defense, Lenny Euro. Bright preseason. What does this season look like? And the Andre Onana question everybody wants to know. Like and subscribe. I'm doing that now. YouTube. Like and subscribe. Get in there. Let's get it. Welcome back to the ecosystem. It's me. I'm back. We are here. The Premier League season is tomorrow. And honestly, guys, when you look at professional sports all around the world, when you talk about the sheer buildup to the sport, there isn't more anticipation or excitement than the Premier League. And it makes you feel alive. It makes you feel things that you weren't feeling for weeks and months without the beautiful sport. I'm here with Carl Anka to break down all things Manchester United. Carl, first of all, how are you feeling, brother?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Now, my first thing for you, because it feels like there's a lot more football now today than there was maybe a few years ago. It feels like the Club World Cup was a few weeks ago, and now we're talking about a whole new season. So how do you unplug? How do you find time in between time?
I go to the cinema a lot.
Okay.
On the Manchester United beat, there's me, there's Mark Critchley, who also covers Manchester United, and we are both regular cinema goers. I think I go to cinema maybe every other week.
Wow.
So things I'm really excited for, and also things that I've just heard about or read about in a review. A very long time ago, I talked to Kasper Schmeichel, who was the Premier League winning goalkeeper when Leicester City won the title. So that was the 5,000 to 1. Absolutely no one saw Leicester win the Premier League. And he spoke of how when you are in a title race, particularly as an underdog, you want to just focus on your game. And then so you play on a Saturday, and let's say Tottenham Hotspur don't play until 5 o'clock on a Saturday, or let's say Tottenham Hotspur or Arsenal don't play until Sunday. He said you had two choices. You can either put yourself through the mental torture of watching that game, or you can put your phone away and go do something else. So what he would often do is whenever his title competitors in that season were going on, he'd go to the cinema. He'd just pick whatever was on in that window, go to the cinema, phone was in airplane mode, not think about it, and that's in for 2 hours just watching this film and not thinking about football. And that's something I've carried with me, in that the joy of this job, and I'm sure you've had it where you meet someone, they ask what you do for a living, you say, oh, I cover sports for a living. And they'll go, oh, wow, that's the dream job. You get to write or talk about sports all the time. And yes, absolutely, it's a blessing. It's a blessing to write and talk about your feelings about a sport that you probably have played since age 5 or 6. And I'm never going to take that for granted. I've been all over the world covering and watching Manchester United. And some of my childhood friends, some of my childhood heroes now call me friend. And that is an amazing part of being a sports journalist. However, it is still a job. And the way I see it is, if I go to a party, or if I'm introduced to someone, a friend of a friend, and they go, I'm a massive sports fan, but for a living I work in a bank. The way I see it is, this person who works in the bank, they spend 40 to 50 hours a week doing their job, and then they'll spend maybe 5 to 6 hours on the weekend thinking about sport. Whereas for us, you will spend 40 to 50, sometimes even 60 hours a week thinking about sport. But then your 5 and 6 hours, you can use that to keep enjoying sport in a friendly way. But for me, especially now I've been doing this for a couple of seasons in a row, I'm very disciplined in using that 5 to 6 hours on my weekend to not think about sport entirely. So I'm in the cinema a lot. I like to go for a run. I'm in the gym a lot. I like to read my books a lot. And then when it's match day, straight back into it, 100%, 120%. Give everyone what they need.
Two movies for you. Number one, Weapons. Have you seen it? Are you
Tremendous.
Okay.
So I watched that last week.
Okay.
Yeah, like incredible head fake. That is a film that zigs every time you expect it to zag, and just an incredible final 10 minutes.
And then number two, I'm not sure if it's out yet. I saw the coming soon preview. The Longest Walk.
No, not out in the UK yet. So this is adapted from the Stephen King
Okay.
book, and I'm really excited for that one. Mark Hamill is in it, and I used to be a big Star Wars fan, so if you got Mark Hamill giving me a fun voice, because he's an amazing voice actor too,
For sure.
you're 3/5 of the way of getting my attention. So I will be watching that one too.
So for me, we are so wired to look at transfers and comings and goings. It's almost become like a telenova in itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
For people like you that are football purists, I
Mm-hmm.
love to talk to you guys about what's actually going on the pitch. So, Manchester United, they won the Snapdragon tournament, the summer series. What has the football looked like with a full summer under Amorim?
So Manchester United are a weird football club. I think there are loads of. I realize this podcast is probably going to go out to a lot of North Americans, and there's always what's the cross sport comparison. And I know quite a few people try and compare modern day Manchester United to the Dallas Cowboys, in that this is a huge sporting institution that was incredibly popular and very very dominant for decades, but has possibly not been able to win the big one for some time. And yeah, there are some parallels there, maybe perhaps. Now, when we talk about Manchester United in 2025, we are talking they have had two of the worst Premier League seasons back to back, or in their entire history. So the Premier League as we now know it, the Premier League is a it's a name of competition. It's also a brand term. So the Premier League was brought into life in 1992 after 22 football clubs decided to break away from the Football League. For basically between 1992 and 2013, Manchester United are either the best team in England or at worst the third best team in England. Then
Right.
Sir Alex Ferguson retires. You have now what is a decade of mediocrity, dysfunction, however you want to call it. And Manchester United finished 8th in the 23-24 season under Erik ten Hag. And everyone was going, oh my God, that's the worst Manchester United will ever be. And yet, right at the last minute, they beat Manchester City to win the FA Cup. So you went, oh, it's not so bad. And then you had last season, the 24-25 season, and they managed to finish 15th.
Yeah.
Erik ten Hag was sacked. Ruben Amorim was brought in, and anything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And then they didn't get the get out of jail free card in the Europa League final, and they lost that too. So this is the first season in 11 years where Manchester United will not be playing in Europe. So that's also a bit weird. There'll be no Europa League football, no Champions League football for Manchester United. And there is a manager, a head coach in Ruben Amorim, who in most circumstances would have been sacked. It is deeply unprecedented for a Manchester United manager to have lost this many games and still be in place. He is in place because there is a understanding from executives and from the fan base that United are in need of a hard reset, a hard cultural reset, entering a transition period and actually doing the hard yards. So they finished 8th and everyone, okay, that's rock bottom. And then they finished 15th and went, oh, we cheated last time and now we actually properly need to do the hard work. So then you're going into tactically. Now, the interesting thing about Ruben Amorim is, tactically speaking, is he's wedded to one style of play. Now, you look at the majority of top managers or managers at big clubs across Europe, and while they may have a preferred formation,
Pretty fluid.
they are likely to change things up or change the players in that system based on who they're playing against, what time of year it is, or if they think they need to bluff or double bluff. Now, there are some clubs like Real Madrid that will have managers and they'll go, you know what, it doesn't really matter what system I want to play. I'm going to adapt to the players. And the other clubs, let's say Manchester City under Pep Guardiola, who wants to play, have a very set principles, but is willing to change up the personnel and willing to change things up. Amorim's really interesting in that he wants to play 3-4-3 or 3-4-2-1. So he wants to play wing back. Now, it's really, really weird. Sorry, weird is probably not the word. It is unusual to be a manager whose plan A is to play with 3 at the back.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've watched Ted Lasso. I don't know if
Yeah.
listeners have watched Ted Lasso, but I do believe there's a bit in Ted Lasso where one of the characters recommends to Ted to make him play 4-4-2, because when you begin kicking a football and you begin learning how to play team sport,
That's the first one.
the first formation, especially if you are in Western Europe, or especially if you are English, it might be a little bit different if you're in Argentina or in Brazil, but you play 4-4-2, or you play something with 4 at the back. And one of the reasons is because the pitch is very easily divisible into 4 zones at the back, and that just makes everything really simple. So for a manager to come in and go, it's 3, you're going, okay. So
Different.
It's different and it's bespoke. Amorim has a very bespoke way of playing, and throughout last season, he made it very clear that he wasn't going to change this bespoke way of playing, even though everyone sort of agrees it's hard. It's very hard to learn on the fly. You ideally want a preseason and several weeks on the training ground to get this all built in. And Amorim went, I'm not going to change right now because if I change right now, you're going to cheat and think, well, we're never going to have to learn the three. It's like, nope, we're going to learn the three now. And even though it's going to be painful, it's going to be a lot better for when August, aka now, comes along. And what we've seen in preseason is, hey, maybe Amorim's right? So this 3-4-3 is looking better than how it looked like for large parts of the Premier League season last season. Something that's also helped with that is the fact that Amorim and the Manchester United recruitment team has been very proactive in trying to sort out some of the problems Manchester United had last season. So one big problem Manchester United had last season was they just didn't score enough goals. They were very goal shy. They were very, very poor at progressing the ball into the final third, and they were very, very poor at keeping the ball into the final third. So they attacked in a very slow and methodical way, close to their own goal. But as they got closer and closer and closer, they couldn't make the ball stick, and they couldn't make the ball stick long enough. They were very easy to play against and very easy to suss out. That has been addressed a little bit because they brought in Matheus Cunha, who's going to play as their left-sided number 10. So that's a sort of interior player close to the centre forward. And Cunha and Mbuemo has also arrived now to be the right-sided 10. We all thought, or the noises coming at Manchester United was once those two players were through the door, that was it. And it was going to be Manchester United need to sell players to bring players in. And then out of nowhere, they got off and they disappeared, manufactured another 60 to 70 million to sign.
The good old credit card.
The good old credit card. And they purchased Benjamin Sesko from RB Leipzig. This is a 6'5" Slovenian football player. His straight line speed, A to B, is phenomenal. And also, something that's really interesting, and I've said this 3 or 4 times, European soccer is having a little bit of a moment similar to the NBA from 2015 to 2018, where the big man or the center, instead of the center being the traditional big man and they play very, very close to their zone, they're also now becoming a little bit more skilled. The Premier League and European football as a whole is getting more skilled bigs. Erling Haaland is a good example of this, as is Alexander Isak. So you're getting 6'5" players who are able to dribble the ball as if they're closer to 5'11". Super interesting. One day I'll write more about how this is turning around. But Sesko is the next one of this, a 6'5" man who is running around with the ball as if he's 5'9", which is amazing. So the Manchester United have a brand new front three. Interesting. Now the idea is the front three should hopefully be able to have a knock-on effect to the wing backs. Now wing backs this is one thing we should also talk about. When you play with a back three, your width is supplied by your wing backs. Now wing backs are a little bit different from your fullbacks because when you're a fullback, normally you have at least a winger ahead of you who can help you take care of that wide area. Whereas if you're a wing back, you are essentially responsible for dealing for that entire area.
2 jobs,
yourself.
right?
It's 2 jobs, which means most people who play wingback to a top level, they very often talk about being exhausted after 70 minutes.
Yeah.
It's such an exhausting role, you can't. You need to have 4 lungs, 16 legs, and the cardiovascular capacity of a Tour de France rider. So you're hoping your wingbacks will be improved by the fact that your interiors in Cunha and Mbuemo are a little bit better at holding on to the ball, so you don't have to go up and down and up and down and up and down. So this is good. This is positive. However, one of the questions is, do Manchester United have their necessary midfield area?
That's the big question.
Things out there, yeah.
So 2 things. Number 1, when you look at the type of runs that Patrick Dorgu and Ahmad are making, it seems like Dorgu is making more of the overlapping runs, and then Ahmad is making the inverted runs. When you have that midfield 4, how important does the spacing become? Because I know spacing is a term they're using in the NBA a lot. But how important does the spacing become in the midfield 4 to account for those runs from Ahmad and Dorgu? And what's the communication like between those two?
So I think the basketball term is spacing is like oxygen. The more you have, the better the attack breathes. First things first, amazing that you've keyed in on the fact that Ahmad is inverting a lot more. So one thing Amorim brought up 2 or 3 times last season was the need to have more left-footed players in the team. Dorgu is left-footed, he's playing on the left-hand side. But when he first came into Manchester United, Amorim played him on the right. And he's been really, really upfront about the fact he likes it when left-footed players play on the right-hand side. Because for Amorim, he keeps describing as being able to go inside and outside. And if you have players that can go inside and outside, it gives more variance of attack, gives more ways you can discombobulate defense. Now, traditionally, you're playing against a football team, we're talking like under 12 coaching. If I'm coaching much at under 12s and we're up against the defense, I'll say first thing you want to do to break a defense, spread them wide. Like try and make the defense as wide as possible and stretch it towards breaking point. Now, that's traditionally for maybe 20 years of the Premier League was why you had your fullbacks would go up and down, but they'd go up and down on the outside. Your wingers would play wide, very, very wide. There's this proverbial get chalk on your boots. You want to get so wide that the white paint of is on your boot. And then I'd say in the last 10 years, we've been seeing more inverted wingers. So if you're left-footed, if you're right-footed back in there, you play on the right-hand side. If you're left-footed, you play on the left-hand side, which is what you're seeing more across European soccer, is left-footed players, rather than being left-backs or left wingers, you're now being right wingers because you can cut inside on your left foot and shoot. Very, very sought after football player now, the left-footed winger who plays on the right. A great example of this is Bukayo Saka in the modern day. A great example of this, maybe 20 years ago or 15 years ago, is Arjen Robben at Bayern Munich and Chelsea.
Mahrez too was to an extent.
Mahrez, yeah. Loads of top teams have wrong-footed players on the wing. There are so many right-footed players on the left wing. Vinny Jr., Kylian Mbappe, Rafael Leao at AC Milan. Now, the big thing for Amorim getting these left-footed players and playing on the right is he wants them to go inside and outside. And Ahmad is left-footed, and Cunha and Mbuemo is left-footed. And it seems like Amorim is trying to turbocharge that. And one thing that you're probably going to see a lot of Manchester United this season is underlapping runs from Ahmad or the right wing back, is that they are going to go, so your right 10 in Mbuemo is going to drift wide, and then your wing back is going to run in the space in that channel. So they're going to run in the channel in between the centre back and the full back and create basically a mismatch or create a situation, a problem where the defender goes, I don't know if I should cut inside to deal with that person or if I should stay focused on the person with the ball who's standing out wide. Big thing on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, Dorgu is left-footed, so he's going to want to go wide when he wants to try and beat a player around that straight line. All good, all fine and fantastic. And in theory, when Man United attack properly, they are going to send 3, if not 5 players up at all points in time. And again, you're stretching a defense. You're causing mismatches. You're going to overwhelm a defense. And if you can keep the ball there, great. Because the defense, if the defense wants to push high, they're going to get pushed back. And if the defense is already sat back, they're going to get stretched wide. Great, fantastic. However, you've only got 2 midfielders to cover loads of space. So it's really, really, really important that at least one of those midfielders is very mobile, very athletic, preferably quite tall, so they can cover space. My friend once describes it as being a pressure valve. Pressure. The opposition team wins the ball back and tries to kick it past you, and then you're the pressure valve. Goes, no. The pressure maintains because I've won the ball back. The problem now for Manchester United is their midfield options. You've got Bruno Fernandes, who is now playing a more box-to-box role, but he's, throughout the majority of his career, is a playmaker. He wants to push up. So he's also pushing up to join everyone else, which means the guy behind you has, essentially, you're one man on an island. Yeah. And you not only have to be a good defender, you've got to be a good proactive defender. You've got to be a firefighter, but also you've got to be good.
Sense out danger and stuff.
You've also got to be, so you've got to be a firefighter and put out fires. You've also got to be a firefighter and realize where there's smoke and go, I need to stand here before everything kicks off. The person next to Bruno Fernandes for the majority of these preseason games has been Casemiro. Casemiro is a multiple-time Champions League winner, Brazil captain, one of the greatest defensive midfielders of his generation. He's also 33.
Yeah.
And there were parts of last season, the season before that, you're going, maybe you can't cover space in the same way you used to.
Yeah, the wear and tear.
Maybe this is an unfair amount of defensive work we're giving you. Maybe you need backup. So Casemiro's got this job for now. The fact that Manchester United aren't playing in Europe this season, maybe with only 1 game a week, he can manage this toll. You've also got Manuel Ugarte, who is 23 from Uruguay, and he is a very dogged defender. He once said, when my team has the ball, it's a football game, and when my team doesn't have the ball, it's a fight.
That's beautiful. I love that. I love that quote.
He's a dog fielder, right? He has the Draymond Green energy to him.
Yeah.
Now, he's a player that attempts a ridiculous amount of tackles, right? There are very, very few players in the Premier League who attempt more tackles than he does. The interesting thing about him is while if he attempts 100 tackles in a game, he's going to win 65, which is good. It's above average. It's more than 50. However, you're going, okay.
It's risky too.
Yeah, it's risky. You get yellow cards. You do end up in danger. And there are players in the Premier League who maybe attempt 65 tackles and win 60 of them because their timing and their sense of timing is perhaps superior to Ugarte, who is still learning the Premier League. There's also a problem with Ugarte in that he is not necessarily the greatest passer. So while he can win the ball, once he wins the ball, it's very much, I need to give this ball to someone else who can make the pass because I can't make the pass myself. You can alleviate that by putting him next to players who can make that pass. But Ugarte has had problems 2 or 3 times last season where he wins the ball, but because he takes so many touches to get the ball out from under his feet, opposition teams go, okay, we're just going to win that back from you. So he's an interesting football player. You've also got Kobbie Mainoo, who I love to pieces.
Yeah. Great kid.
Just a great football player. He's more of a shuttling midfielder.
Yeah.
His strength isn't necessarily the fact he's a passer. His strength is how he can take the ball in deep areas, look up, and go, okay, I'm going to wriggle through these 2 or 3 bits. And you can send more than one player towards him. And he's like, no, I'm going to use my body here. I'm going to twist and turn, twist and turn. Very, very clever football player. Amorim would like him to develop more progressive passing so he can be the person who can hit the pass. Ugarte wants to get rid of the ball. We will see with him. I would like him to play for Manchester United for the next 10 years. So that, in short, is Manchester United's midfield conundrum. And this is also why they are looking at other players, including Carlos Baleba, who's at Brighton and Hove Albion. Now, he's a player who can do the tackling work of Casemiro and Ugarte, but he can also hit the passes. So he's closer to the all-in-one midfield.
All-in-one, yeah. For sure. There was a line I think you used to describe Benjamin Sesko as he runs like a motorboat with a funky rudder. and I wanted to dive into, because obviously you look at last season's for Cunha and Mbuemo where they most operated with the ball. Cunha was on the left, Mbuemo was on the right. It's going to come down to the synergy between the front three, right? But there were a few preseason games I watched where United was pressing out of position in a 4-4-2 almost.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do they have the tactical wherewithal to, if they win the ball back, attack in said 4-4-2, or does it make more sense for them to go back to that 3-4-2-1, 3-4-3 shape and try and create chances? And what does his role as a number 9 come into in all?
So multiple coaches will tell you not to get too bogged down in the minutiae of numbers. Now, I think Pep Guardiola says formations are like telephone numbers. It's the information that's only really relevant to the 2 or 3 people that are using the telephone number. Now, I'm also going to use Pep Guardiola as another example. When Pep Guardiola was in charge of Barcelona and Barcelona were at their absolute apex between 2012, they would try and win the ball back within 5 seconds. So if they lost the ball, it was run relentlessly after that ball for 5 seconds, and if you can't run after that ball in 5 seconds, drop deep,
back in position,
get back in position, and you would fall into a 4-4-2. And this is very, very common with loads of football teams now across European football. Is that a lot of teams, when they don't have the ball, will drop and fall into a 4-4-2 shape, which again comes back to the Ted Lasso thing about everyone understands 4-4-2. The pitch breaks down into 4 spaces very, very easy, and it's also very, very. You can very quickly, at a glance, innately know where you should be standing in relation to everyone else in a 4-4-2. If you've been playing football for 2 or 3 years, just look up. Oh, there's a left back. I should be there. Boom, done. Great. United are pressing in a 4-4-2 in certain phases, and this is why I don't want to get too bogged down in numbers, because you want to defend in a 4-4-2, perhaps closer to your own goal. But when you're pushing up, you may want to change that shape. Amorim's United doesn't seem to have this win it back in 4 or 5 seconds in the way that Barcelona have, or in the way that other teams in the Premier League have done. Mostly because it's really hard.
Yeah, it's taxing.
It's really hard. It's really taxing to do, and it's quite hard to teach mid-season. They often say you need a preseason to teach a pressing scheme, and even when you look at the examples of teams that have learned or increased their pressing post-season, that tends to be because they've had a generational football player in their team already. right? So there's often this one about, oh, well, Thomas Tuchel didn't need the preseason to get Chelsea to press. And the answer to that is, well, Thomas Tuchel had N'Golo Kante.
Yeah.
And
bit of a head start.
But yeah, everyone says N'Golo Kante is like having 1.5 football players, maybe 2 football players, because he just had his running capacity was phenomenal.
Work rate is phenomenal. Yeah,
his running capacity was phenomenal. His aerial anticipation was phenomenal. He had that sort of Dennis Rodman. The ball is in flight this way, which means I need to go stand this way to intercept it.
He has the firefighter thing, like you talked about.
Yeah,
the firefighter sense.
Absolutely. Now United don't necessarily have those players, so while they are in a 4-4-2 shape in certain phases when they haven't got the ball, what is really apparent is that when they win the ball, Amorim wants them to hit the ball into the channels. Now, again, the channel is the space between the opposition fullback and the centre back. If you can hit the ball into the channel really quickly, that gap that you're hitting creates a moment of indecision from a defender. And you're going,
Yeah.
It's a whose man gets that? Who goes for that ball? And the big thing for what you're seeing with United is when the ball goes into the channel, it is the responsibility of the 10s, so Cunha and Mbuemo, or the striker, and it's looking like Sesko, to pick that ball up and make it stick. And this is why you've also seen throughout a lot of Amorim press conferences, he's always talked about physicality. He goes, we need more physicality. Physicality is important. Because if you're to be a channel runner, you need to be quick. You also need to be, and I'm going to swear now, you need to be a bastard, right? You need to be the first one to that ball, and you also need to be able to use the sharp corners of your body to make sure the second person to that ball ain't getting the ball off you. So this is why United have been getting taller players. This is why United have been getting players who are very, very good dribblers. So Cunha, very good ball carrier. Mbuemo, very, very good with his feet. Sesko, good dribbler. So they're getting fast guys, combative football players. They're getting football players who...
Yeah, mean streak.
Yeah.
Mean streak.
Yeah. So that is, I think, when United attack this season, they're going to attack very quickly. They're going to go from A to B, north to south, very, very quickly. Did you watch the Community Shield?
Yeah.
On the weekend?
Yeah.
So I texted a friend and I said, Liverpool are playing Mike D'Antoni football. Right? Liverpool were...
7 seconds or less.
Right. That Liverpool were playing some real 7 seconds or less football.
Yeah.
Now they are further along in their project compared to Manchester United. And Arne Slot himself, you look at that Liverpool team, they've got 4 or 5 players who can run 100 meters in 12 seconds. And so it's no coincidence that when they do get the ball, they're just gone. I think Man United want to take parts of that, but I think that one of the differences in United and Liverpool is that there's a lot more impetus on the United players that when the ball gets knocked into the channels, you might be on your own for a split second. So you need to do what you can, elbows, your buttocks, your hips, all those sharp corners of your body to hold onto that ball for an extra second. So when everyone starts flooding forward, then you can bounce it back to them before you spin and get moving. It's a really big responsibility. Sesko is 22, and the operative word for him is potential. Now, the problem with that is Manchester United isn't necessarily a team that can afford potential. You need to be very good from day one. Sesko is a confident man. He's going to need to be to get this all working.
But there was a time, I think, last season, if you watch him in the Bundesliga, he would get super emotional about missing chances and just overall play. This is a big club. The pressure is going to be there from day one. Do you see, just from a sheer amount of goals, do you expect them to be much more viable in that department, or do you think it might still take some time to get those 3 working together?
I think you've made a great observation in that last season, the Bundesliga, Sesko was very self-critical. And this is something that sort of the boom-bust potential, to borrow the draft phrasing, the boom-bust potential in Sesko is very volatile. Now, Manchester United playing Arsenal on Sunday. Let's say first 15, 20 minutes, they win the ball. Sesko holds it on, passes up to Mbuemo and Cunha. They do a 1-2. Mbuemo crosses the ball in. Sesko at the back post crashes it in. Boom, goal. You scored on your debut. Everyone's going, the money was worth it. This is amazing, fantastic. Boom, potential.
He shanks it wide.
Now, what happened last season, or 2 seasons ago for Rasmus Højlund? So Højlund arrives at Manchester United. He had a back injury. He couldn't play in the first couple of games. He gets a little bit of running time against Arsenal. He plays against Arsenal in the last 15 minutes. The ball gets played into Garnacho. United are 1-1. Ball gets played into Garnacho. Garnacho scores. They all run off to the corner, and you're going, this is it. The United have beaten Arsenal in the last minute. They've all clicked. Højlund's just adjusted really well into it, and then the linesman gone. The goal is offside.
I remember that.
Now this is a moment that Erik ten Hag brought up routinely in press conferences about if that goal had gone in.
That's an
Season,
inflection point.
he truly believed it, even to the point that when they went to the FA Cup final against Manchester City, they included a clip of that to Any Given Sunday. This game is about inches,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That result and that moment played on Ten Hag's mind for months. And I still think there have been 2 or 3 times with Højlund where there were 2 or 3. I mean, Højlund scored 5 goals in the Champions League group stages 2 seasons ago, but he also scored those goals in games where United lost due to the inadequacies and defensive calamities of other players. And you're thinking, if those games have been victories, would Højlund be in this position right now, or would his boom potential be a lot higher than what it is now, where he's looking? Unfortunately, the bust percentage has got a bit higher too. So this is hard. When you talk to Premier League strikers and you talk to some of the top ex-pros, they often talk about how you need to be a gambler. You also need to be highly delusional. And you need to ignore statistics and ignore things that are in front of your face. So there is a very, very good story, I want to say, from in the pre-COVID era, where Harry Kane is asked about how he scores goals. And Harry Kane said, when he is through on goal, if he has a shot and he misses, he doesn't get annoyed about it because he goes, that increases the chances of him scoring next time.
Yeah.
Now, that is untrue. That is not statistically true. That is mathematically, that is not how maths work.
It's the Lulu.
Right? But this term is called the gambler's paradox.
Yeah.
So anyone who does sports betting, anyone who plays lottery tickets, it's called the gambler's paradox. Is also called the near miss paradox. So if you go up to if you go to Vegas and you're on a slot machine and you pull down the arm on the slot machine and you get 7-7 watermelon, if you go, okay, I came close, let me try again. That's the gambler part of it. That's not maths. That's the gambler part of your brain.
That's how you go broke.
That's the Delulu part of your brain going, let me try again because I was close. This is very bad life advice. This is very bad financial advice. This is an excellent way to be a football player. It's an excellent way to be a striker, because the best way to alleviate inconsistencies or freak accidents as a striker is with volume. And they always say this about when strikers are in a funk, when they go through a long spell without scoring, they just go, keep shooting, shoot all the time. And they always say the worrying thing about strikers when they hit this slump is when they stop shooting or when they stop running.
Confidence thing.
The confidence thing. And there were times last season where you saw Højlund stopped running and he stopped gambling.
Yeah.
Because things got in his head. Now, to go back to Sesko, he's self-critical. There were times where he was missing chances in the Bundesliga and he's screaming and effing and blinding and going to the moon. And you want him to just go, you ideally want him to click his fingers, blink his eyes and go, next job. And I think that's going to be a big thing for him at Manchester United, is there will be times where he will miss chances. And because you play at Manchester United, you are under the lights, you are under the scrutiny way more than you would be at anywhere else. Manchester United is the most, you can argue whether or not it's the biggest football club in the world.
It's the most pressure.
There is an understanding that this is the most written about football club in the world, if only because it's in the English language. So if you make a miss, it's going to get clipped, it's going to get gifted, it's going to be turned into a meme. There's going to be 4K cameras on you. Don't be calling yourself stupid on camera, because trust me, there's going to be 60,000 people outside who are going to do it for you. You need to just get on to the next job. Now, that's the risk for Sesko. Can he deal with that pressure? He needs to. I hope he can. He absolutely needs to. Now, when we talk about, is this front three going to click on day one? No. Because no front three clicks on day one. You do need to figure things out. Amorim in his preseason interviews has talked about how Cunha and Mbuemo are between 60 and 70% match sharp right now. So there's still a little bit to be built up there. And Sesko himself, he played one preseason game with RB Leipzig. He's not played the last 2. So they are the first touch. That rustiness, that will be there, evident in the first couple of games. We know Sesko played out on the 21 game for Manchester United behind closed doors to shake off the ring rust. But you hope that intelligent players can learn spacing and all those things as they get together. And also, what's also going to be interesting is that these are 3 players that thrive in open space. Again, spacing, oxygen. If you can get the ball to them in open space to run against fractured defenses, they should be able to figure this out very, very quickly. The tricky stuff, I think, will be, let's say, when they're playing against recently promoted Burnley, and Burnley, you can have the ball, we're going to sit deep, and then they're going to have to work out those little triangles to break things down. It's super exciting to watch. I think one thing about Sesko that makes sense and ticks a box is that when you bring in Cunha and Mbuemo, these are two players that want to be cut inside and shoot, and they want to play in the interior spaces. Now, when you have that, you want a striker who doesn't drop deep and come into those spaces. You want a striker that runs the other way and pushes defenders back, so you can do your interior stuff because I'm gonna be handling stuff in the paint, so to speak. Sesko can do that, and that as a three works better than say Mbumo and a striker like say Xerxes who want to drop deep. Now that can work if you're playing against those deep defenses. The fact that Xerxes wants to drop deep means they can do the triangles.
Yeah, against certain teams.
Yeah, certain teams. So
Yeah.
it's exciting, but also everything's exciting before you've seen it in process, right?
So I want to get to the defense, but going back to the thing you said about the inflection point,
Mhm.
and tell me if I'm crazy because in my United group chats I've talked about this. You talk about the X vibes thing a lot, right?
Uh-huh.
You go back to that preseason game. I think it might have been the first one of the summer series where Rasmus has that blistering run. He strikes the ball with his left and it bangs the post. If that shot goes in, are we talking about a potential? Because you think the confidence he's back and maybe he can kick on, or do you think they were always in a position where they were going to try and get Sesko?
I think there was always an appetite to get another centre forward, and we knew this at Manchester United from around March, April time, that United would be in the market for another centre forward. I think the conversation was, are they in the market for an experienced centre forward to take the burden off Højlund and Højlund becomes the number two? Or are they looking for a centre forward to be the new number one and Højlund can leave? And I think what we've seen across this summer is Højlund being slowly deprioritized in the plan. So he did not start the last three preseason games.
Yeah.
And the most recent preseason game against Fiorentina, Højlund was on the bench and didn't come off the bench.
Mount is number 9, yeah.
Mount's in number 9. Sesko is being unveiled in front of everyone. And it really felt as if the powers that be at Manchester United were going to Højlund. You might need to go elsewhere to continue your career. And also, any funds we can get from your sale will probably be reinvested in the squad very quickly. So not only is it you might want to look elsewhere, but also we kind of would like you to look elsewhere because this project now continues on. It's difficult in that you look at some of Højlund's play for Manchester United in 2023, there's a football player in there. However, I look at someone who's playing 2025 and I go, this is a person who is struggling above the shoulders.
It's a reset.
Yeah. There is before the Europa League final, the Europa League, like all the competitions, here's the goals of the competition. And there was a goal Højlund scored against Bodo Glimt. And I remember watching it a couple of days before the Europa League final, and my jaw dropped at the quality of the goal Højlund scored. The ball comes in, falls to him in the box, and he sort of collects it mid-air on his right foot before he hits it with his left foot. And it was real, I forgot you could do this. I forgot how good you are at manipulating the ball when you're confident, because he had gone more than 12 games without scoring a goal. I wrote a piece on The Athletic about a very particular kind of goal he was trying to score and why it was probably blocking his blessings. Now, what sports do you play, Kelly?
I played rugby in school.
Uh-huh.
I play soccer currently. I stopped playing basketball because I get hurt too much. Oddly enough, when I was in school, because I went to boarding school, I was a goalkeeper.
Okay.
And I was really good. Like when I was in year 2, I was already playing for the senior team.
Uh-huh.
And then when I came back over here to the States, I started playing more on the wing and trying like the inverted winger stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I play.
So when you play sport, do you ever, when I play sport, and I'm sure a lot of people listen to this, if you play sport, there might be a point in time where you are having a lull. You are having a bad run of form in a game.
Happens a lot.
And your brain goes, go to old reliable.
Yeah.
Right? So you go, we know this is a technique we've practiced 50, 60 times. And we're going to do it today. We're going to do it next.
Yeah.
Now, for me, if I'm playing tennis, or if I'm playing paddle, I'm right-handed. I go to the gym a lot. I've got a quite nice top hand. I got a quite nice top spin forehand. So if I'm struggling and the person I'm playing tennis with is just beating me up,
Default.
I'm hitting that default. I'm going to hit you with the deepest top spin forehand. I'm going to see how you can deal with that. If I'm playing football, I've got very few skill moves, but the one I very often use is a croqueta. So I'm gonna stand you up 1-on-1. I'm gonna shift the ball from my left foot to my right foot. I'm gonna try and beat you on the outside with my right foot. And these are my go-tos. And the reason I'm telling you this is I figured out there was a point in time where you could see Rasmus was going to his go-to goal.
Yeah.
Now the problem with it was a go-to goal that worked when he was a youngster because he was the fastest kid in the room. So this is a goal where the ball is being played into the channel. He's taking 1 or 2 touches, and he is running at a. So if you imagine a clock or a watch, you are running from the middle of the clock, and you are running towards 10 or 11 o'clock towards the penalty goal, towards the goal. You're running that way, and he's just going. I'm running this way as fast as I can. I'm going to hit the ball with my left foot. Now you can do that when you are, and this is Rasmus Højlund can run 100 meters in 11 point something seconds.
He's quick.
He's really, really quick. And when he scores this goal against Leicester City to break his goal drought, and he does this goal, and it's one of those goals where he scores it, and you're like, oh, thank goodness for that. You've broken your drought. You can see it on his face, and he looks amazing. One of the reasons why he scored is because he did it against a Leicester City team that got relegated. And now when he's controlling the ball, as he's doing this sort of run, Wout Faes, the Belgian centre-back, for some reason pauses and doesn't give chase to him in the initial part. So he gets an extra second head start. And as he's on this 10 to 11 run, the goalkeeper doesn't shoot out of his net. He's sort of quite static and going, okay, where are you going to put it?
It's a perfect sense.
So it was a perfect storm of 2 or 3 things allowing him to score his default goal. And I wrote a piece on The Athletic about this is a goal Rasmus has been trying to score for more than 6 weeks. And here's some of the examples of him trying to score it, but against teams that didn't allow him to do it. So 2 or 3 weeks before he scores this goal, he does it against Liverpool. The ball gets played over the top. He's on it, and he's running down line to do this. The problem was, one, Virgil van Dijk was there and going, you ain't big man.
No, sir. No, sir.
I may not be able to get the ball to you in time, but I'm going to run towards you enough so you're not going to get the time to control the ball.
You.
And also, Alisson Becker saw him make this run, and he goes, I'm going to run off this line and like cause a panic from you, make you snatch this shot if possible. And the shot goes straight into Alisson Becker, and that's what happens. There's another time where it's a similar thing. Ball gets played wide. He's running down this channel. He runs down the channel, he collects it, and he's trying to embark on this run. And Ben Davies stops him for a little bit. So Rasmus sort of turns like, oh God, I can't make this run. Turns around, eventually spins Ben Davies. But when he goes to Vicario is stood in the near post. Now, the old proverbial was the goalkeeper doesn't like it beaten on near post. So Vicario was covering one half of the net. But Højlund his shot has to be so precise in the far post that it becomes too hard. And this is the struggle, right? This is the struggle you get when you play in the Premier League. This is the struggle you get when you play in a harder league. I can't remember the coach who said it. There's a basketball coach who said the difference between playing regular season and the difference between playing in the playoffs is that regular season you can go for your plan A, whereas in the playoffs, every single opposition scout goes.
They know your plan. Yeah.
Every single opposition scout goes, take away his plan A and let's see how he reacts. If you're up against a point guard that likes to start everything from the pick and roll, everyone goes, don't allow him the pick and roll, and then see how he reacts. And if you can keep going, great, well done. You're an Eastern Conference finalist. But if you can't do it, yeah, right. And if you can't do it, well, you're getting eliminated in the play-in round. And I think that's what happened. That is what's happened to quite a few Manchester United football players in the last 3 or 4 years, in that they have come from clubs or they have come from scenarios where their plan A, their default, has worked very, very well. And then you enter the Premier League, which has some of the greatest tactical variants in European football, has some of the highest paid coaches in European football, if not the world, and some of the best analysts in the world as well. And they're all going, what is the thing that you like doing and how can we stop you from doing this? A great example of this is Anthony. Right?
Man.
What does Anthony want to do?
Cut in from the left, from the right, curl it, top bins with his left.
Yeah, right? Anthony wants to do that. He's very, very, very left-footed. He carries the ball on the outside of his left boot, runs down the left-hand side, and he will, if he's one-on-one with you, he's going to try some sort of spin move to try and cut inside and shoot and curl it in the far corner. He scores in his debut against Arsenal because there's time and space there. He gets 2 or 3 goals, and then slowly, over his first season, you can see teams go, don't let him do that. Just don't fall for the bait.
It's like a scouting report.
Yeah, don't fall for the bait. Send another defender over there to block off that channel. And the thing about the Premier League is the defenders are so big, they're so strong, they're so tactically adept that you could see Anthony slowly just play himself out of opportunities. Now, Anthony's spent the last 6 months playing for Real Betis in Spain, and all of a sudden he's scoring goals left and right, he's scoring assists left and right, and it's the whole what's Real Betis doing? And then you watch the highlights, you're going, it's the same player, he's just doing the thing.
The default.
He's doing,
and they haven't adjusted yet.
Yeah. Now, I'm not sure what Benjamin Sesko's thing is yet, and I hope I don't find out what it is until April, because there are so many different very things going on. But this is the Premier League. This is the fun and the danger of the Premier League. Is I think there have been 2 or 3 times the inflection point or the positive thing for Rasmus that could have happened didn't quite happen. And they say, confidence begets, winning begets more winning, and confidence begets more confidence. I'm sure you've been to plenty of games watching Houston, and you can see the player approach a heat check. You're like, well, everything's right. Just everything's going in. Let me just start taking ridiculous shots to see what's happening. Whereas covering Manchester United not too long ago, I've watched players lose the hot hand very quickly and go, oh.
Before I let you go, 2 things from you. Lenny Yoro, a lot of potential, played really well in the preseason. You've talked about in the past about, I think you used Pokemon to compare the different profiles of center backs.
Cats and dogs.
Yeah.
So this is a piece that was written by Michael Cox, who works at The Athletic, in 2019, and he's, to my mind, one of the greatest tactics writers working in sports journalism. And the piece starts with him, one, bemoaning the lack of specific football terms in English. The good thing about English is very descriptive and there's lots of synonyms. One of the bad things is, rather than invent these terms, if they have one, they just steal it from another language. So this is why we hear people being called a trequarista or a mezziala, because we'll just steal it from Italian, whereas the Italians just invented it for themselves. Now, Michael Cox's argument, and one I highly recommend to anyone getting into soccer and wants to start evaluating centre backs, and I would say centre backs are a very, very hard position to get a bead on, to get to understand, is this a good centre-back or a bad centre-back, and why are they a good centre-back or a bad centre-back? And Michael Cox's argument is that some centre-backs are dogs in that they mark the man. So you go to a park with a dog sees a ball, the dog goes, I'm going after that, and I'm going to run after that ball until I win that ball. And some centre-backs are cats, and if you think about a cat with a laser pointer, a cat waits, it pounces, it waits, okay. It tries to get a measure of the space, like where is that dot, where is it, and then when it decides that that's the correct point, then it strikes. And Michael Cox's argument, and the argument that is now, since 2019, this sort of lens, this framework has gone across to many writers and has influenced loads of people, is that you ideally now, as a top European club, want one of your centre-backs to be a dog and you want one of your centre-backs to be a cat. This is when you play a back 4. So if you look at Liverpool, Virgil van Dijk is a cat. He is the best cat in European football. He is 6'6". He has a phenomenal body control. I don't know if he has a history of ballet or dance, but his ability, his core strength and his ability to manipulate the core means that one of the jokes is he delegates too much or he jockeys too much. So Van Dijk is so good at controlling his body, he very often makes very risky defensive mistakes that worst defenders cannot do.
Shield.
Yeah. That worst defenders cannot do, because his ability to just maneuver his body and spin his body is phenomenal. So he's probably the best cat in the world. And then you look at the dog defenders. Dog defenders are very often, a dog defender becomes your captain because they set the tempo for everyone. These are your bloodied heroes. They're blood and thunder. They head the ball. They make the big crunching tackles and look at everyone else go, come on! Like John Terry, that's a dog.
Vidic.
Nemanja Vidic, that's a dog. Sergio Ramos at Real Madrid, that's a dog. And there are more dogs in centre backs than there are cats. And very often, if you see a centre back who gets sold for a lot of money, they tend to be a cat because they are the rarer ones. Anyway, Yoro is really interesting because Yoro seems to be the only cat among United's current selection of centre backs. So Harry Maguire, quintessential dog. Quintessential. Mateus de Ligt, very similar, dog. Lisandro Martinez, pitbull. There's been
Pitbull, yeah.
loads of talk about him being.
But still dog.
Yeah. Now the interesting about Lisandro Martinez is that he's a dog, but also he's very good with the ball at his feet.
Yeah, he can progress the ball, yeah.
Now one of the common adages is that cats are also quite good with the ball at their feet. But every now and again, you can see a dog who's good at passing too. So Lisandro Martinez, dog. And they also say, well, another lens to apply upon this is dogs, when they defend the man, you want to make sure when a dog is doing the defending, it's in a smaller space. So when you watch footage of, say, Harry Maguire and it looks quite embarrassing, it's because he's having to defend either a quick football player or because he's having to defend a large area of space. Whereas cats, Virgil, Lenny Yoro, they tend to be quite quick and they tend to go, okay, it's me versus two defenders, two attackers. I'm not going to panic. I'm just going to time.
Yep.
I'm going to push you. I'm going to push you into less dangerous areas. I'm going to try and push you wide. I'm going to try and push you on your weaker foot, and then I'm going to nick the ball. So this is why Yoro is important, because one, he's the quickest centre back they've got. Two, he's a cat, and you want to have at least one cat in your defence if possible. Three, he's really good with the ball at his feet already.
Yeah. Very confident.
Very, very confident. There were two. So he was initially signed to play on the right-hand side, but there have been 2 or 3 games towards the end of last season where he was playing on the left and he was pushing up into the final third, carrying the ball, dribbling the ball, playing little 1-2s, and you're going, oh, this is midfield-esque. So I think Yoro will probably play 80 to 85% of Manchester United's games of this season, injury permitting, because he is not only a very good cat with a sky-high potential, but also he's the only one they have.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess for me, and when you forecast this season, everything will start with, or it'll end with Andre Onana and the goalkeeping situation.
Yeah.
Very affable character. He's very passionate. He's also known to, to play. His style has gotten him in trouble quite a few times. Currently injured. I know I think he was rehabbing or coming back from injury. What is your expectation of him this season? Are we going to get more of the Inter version? But honestly, that's not really fair, because Inter that season, their defense was they had cats and dogs. It was like Petco over there. But what version of Andre Onana are you expecting this season?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I think you've spoken very well about him in that he's a very affable character. He's one of the football players you want to see do well.
Yeah.
Right. He's a very mature man. He speaks very well about, one, what it means to be a football player, what it means to be a black football player, what it means to be a black football player as a goalkeeper. I am 34 years of age, and I can remember very, very strong memories of things being said in the 90s and the early 2000s about black football players,
black footballers,
black goalkeepers, and
their intelligence
African goalkeepers especially. Did AFCON season come along and people are, oh, ha, 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 look at all these goalkeeper highlights. Onana's spoken about that. Onana's spoken about how one European football club apparently were interested in him and then also turned away from signing him because they went, we're not sure our fan base is going to be okay with having a black goalkeeper. He's also spoken about how, because of his size and his build, some of the goalkeeping techniques he uses that feel comfortable for him, 2 or 3 clubs as he was going through his career went, that's just wrong. You shouldn't do that. So there's a story that apparently one club, they have there was a way to dive to get low to low shots. And Onana's method for getting low to shots is not textbook. It's not how there is no such thing as a textbook goalkeeping technique, because goalkeeping it's a very bespoke thing. And very often what loads of coaches say is, if there is something that works for you, I'm not going to dissuade you from that or teach you to not do that unless it becomes a problem. And then we're going to show you the other technique. So Onana is using this technique. A coach goes, stop doing that. That's not how we teach everyone. Onana goes, well, this is this is the way I do it. The European club, and it sort of rigs him up with a kit with loads of sensors on it and tests the reaction time. And it turned out Onana's version of doing this was better. So therefore, the people at the club were then taught to do it Onana's way rather than the other way. Right, and that's one of those stories of does Onana have have that conversation and that argument back and forth with the coach if he came from a Western European country compared to Cameroon.
That's true. That's
So
true.
he's a fascinating person. He's a fascinating person. If you take him out for coffee, if you talk to him for 10, 15 minutes, you'll come away going, what a lovely man, and I hope all the good things for him. However, ... he's had a really bad 2 years as Manchester United. Right? He arrives at Manchester United after playing very, very well in the Champions League final against Manchester City, and not just very well as a goalkeeper, but also the things he's able to do.
Exceptional.
He's an exceptional. He's meant to be an exceptional modern goalkeeper, right? If we are talking in 2023, in the year 2023, there was a legitimate argument that Andre Onana was top 10, if not top 5 goalkeepers in the world. And then he arrives at Manchester United, and in pre-season, you want to talk about inflection point. So in pre-season, he plays against Lens. He is 40 yards out of his own net. Diogo Dalot plays a pass, it gets intercepted, and this Lens player lobs him. And Onana is just watching this ball sail off his head.
I remember.
And it goes in, and he does the goal. There's loads of goalkeeping techniques you do when you're like, don't let anyone know you're crying or let anyone know you're annoyed. Some goalkeepers grab their water bottle and have a sip of water. Quite a few adjust their sock.
Or their glove.
Or like tweak their glove. And Onana seems to be one who adjusts his sock when he's made a mistake. So that feels like an inflection point, because you did not see Onana really jump really far out of his penalty area under Erik ten Hag. There was also the fact that Lisandro Martinez got injured. So if you're a goalkeeper that likes to play the ball with your feet, you also want to be passing to defenders who like the ball with their feet. So United didn't have that. And then the mistakes crept in. Yeah. And you can call them confidence-making ones, you can call them technique-making ones, but Onana's Champions League campaign between 23-24 is, and I'm saying this as someone who likes Andre Onana the person, that's one of the worst goalkeeping campaigns I've seen in a Champions League. In terms of big player, 6 games, that's one of the worst you'll see from a goalkeeper. He turned things around and had a solid calendar year of 2024, but then more mistakes crept in 2025. Things also came to a really bizarre head in that Europa League match against Lyon, where so I think what happened was Onana probably said one word out of place about how he wanted to beat Lyon. Lyon had Nemanja Matic, who's good teammates with Onana's predecessor, David De Gea.
Yeah.
And Matic went, okay, if you want to be a little bit, if you want to act funny, I'm going to be hilarious. And then called Onana that thing. And then everything reached this sort of head in the game. And the one time you wanted Onana to have a very solid game to go unnoticed, he makes 1 or 2 mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think that probably severed a cord between himself and the fan base. And you speak to a lot of United fans now, and they say, we need a new goalkeeper because I don't trust the goalkeeper. And that's hard. I think one of Onana's missions between now and, let's say, the end of September is, can you put together a body of work?
And regain that trust.
And it's really hard.
It is hard.
It's quite hard to do this as a goalkeeper. If you're a striker and you need to regain trust,
just score goals.
You just got to score loads of goals. And it's that very interesting thing of the best way to regain trust as a striker is to get loads of positive headlines. The best way to get loads of trust as a goalkeeper is to make sure you are nowhere near the headlines. And you want to talk about another inflection point. One of Onana's very best games last season was in a 4-0 victory over Everton in a game that wasn't televised in the UK. And I remember leaving that stadium going, I wish this game was on TV so people could see how good Onana was in that game. But it wasn't to be. Onana is... Manchester United would probably like to sign another goalkeeper because that trust and that relationship between the goalkeeper and the rest of the team is not what it could be. However, they don't necessarily have the funds to deal with that now. So I think this is one of those problems that will have to probably get solved a little later on. And hopefully, if you're Onana, you can play in such a way that it's no longer a problem by the time United get more money.
Final thing for me, can you give me table prediction? Is it too, like, are you I know you're in the hot take business, but
am I? Woo. I try not to be. I'm looking across the Premier League now. I really enjoy the Community Shield game. I have no idea how good Liverpool are going to be, but I think Liverpool are going to score a lot of goals. So I'm going to be quite boring here. So I'm going to predict the reigning champs are going to win again. So I think Liverpool win the title again. I think the promoted teams that came up are going to go straight back down. That's happened in the last 2 seasons now, and that's quite concerning for the economic and competitive health of the league. Is that the bottom of the league seems to be getting weaker. Now, if you're looking at the top five, so 5 places in the Champions League now, I think City, Arsenal, and Chelsea
Yeah, I have Chelsea,
are
yeah,
are,
top 3.
are, are going to be following Liverpool, or indeed, if it comes out that one of Arsenal and Man City beat Liverpool for the league title, fine, okay. That 5th place is really hard to predict. In that Newcastle got it, but seem to be having problems strengthening their squad, if only because Manchester United seem to be nicking some of their players. Aston Villa have not necessarily strengthened in the way that you would hope, because they have their wage to turnover ratio is really high, so they can't necessarily spend the money they want. So there's I'd say there are 4 very, very good clubs in England right now. So you've got Liverpool City, Arsenal, and Chelsea are going to be, that's a gauntlet. They're all going to be exchanging haymakers for those top 4 spaces. Then you've got a little band of Newcastle, Aston Villa, and Spurs, I think. Then you've got another band of teams, I'd say Brighton, Nottingham Forest,
Forest, okay.
maybe even Crystal Palace you can put in there, where they are good on their day, but also they can have clangers. And it's really hard to predict where the Manchester United snake into this. Because traditionally, what you'd be saying is Manchester United should be in the category with Aston Villa and
Yeah,
Newcastle, and saying, okay, maybe not title challengers, but you should be
in the mix.
in the mix for 5th and 6th. However, things were so bad last season that I'm reluctant to say United are going to go from 15th to 5th in one fell swoop. I'm also looking at Manchester United's midfield and going, you need one more body. So I think United might finish somewhere between 8th and 6th, while unfortunately 2, if not 3, of Manchester United's historic rivals will probably be challenging for a title.
That's well, whatever happens, we are going to be following you and your work. You are a tremendous gift to the sport, and thank you for coming on my show. I will tap in with you soon, brother. Have a
Absolutely.
good one.
I want to have a lot of long chat with you about what you think about KD at Houston, because
I got a story for you about that. I got
excellent.
I
I
got a
look
story for
forward
you
to it.
about that. So, yes, sir.
You take
Thank you
care
for
of
listening,
yourself. Have a great weekend.
everybody.
To everyone listening, I hope you have a fantastic Premier League season.